Hi, I'm Chef Richard Miller. Welcome to Chef Richard's Kitchen. Today we're going to do something a little different, and most people, when it comes to pasta, go down to the grocery store, they get a box of dry pasta, they throw it in water, and away they go. And that's fine. That pasta's good. I use quite a bit of it myself. But what I thought we'd do today is I thought we might make our own, because it's really not that difficult. And I thought this is something that you might enjoy if I share with you. So what we're going to do here is we're only going to have to have about 4 or 5 ingredients. And what we're going to start with is just flour. This is just regular all-purpose flour. The second kind, we're going to mix this 50-50 with the all-purpose, is semolina flour. And semolina flour is made from the durum wheat, and it's a little more coarsely ground. And to me, this gives pasta a little better mouthfeel to it. If you want to use regular flour, in total, go ahead. Most people make noodles like that, egg and flour, and away you go. I like a little semolina in there, so that's how we're going to do it today. We'll need, probably 2 to 3 eggs. How many? I don't know. How humid is it in here? Different things affect how much moisture we're going to get, how much is going to be in the egg, how much is going to dry out, how quickly is it going to dry out. So we may need 2, we may need 3, we may need to add a 4th. I doubt the 4th, but I've got it here anyway. We're going to need some olive oil, a tablespoon of that, and we're going to need just a little bit of salt, and that's probably just a little sprinkle. So what I want to do first is I want to take and I want to mix the egg and the olive oil mixture, and I want to kind of whip them together. So I'm going to take a couple of eggs. Why do I use this? Well, I explained this in another episode. If you've ever cracked open an egg and gotten a bloody egg, you'll know why. And when it happens to me, and it's rare, I'll grant you that. They candle these, they inspect them pretty good, and it's rare when one gets through. When it does, it's always the last one, and it goes in, and basically your whole dish is ruined. So if that ever happens, well, now you understand why I do it this way. I'm going to take 3 eggs, and I don't know if I'm going to need 2 or if I'm going to need 3 or maybe 2.5. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix them all together. That way when it comes down to making the pasta, if I need to add just a little bit more, I don't have to take and add an entire egg to it. It's already mixed. Put in our olive oil. And now let's whisk it together. Okay. Our eggs and olive oil are whisked together. Now, let's go ahead and let's gather our flour. I'm targeting about 3 cups of flour total. Now what I want to do is I want to pour this in here. Let's call that about 1.75 cups. Now I'm going to add a cup of regular flour. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just using my fingers. I'm going to kind of mix this together. All right. Now, once we get this in a mound, we're going to make a little well in this. Call it a bird's nest, call it a volcano, you know, whatever. But we're going to make a little well in here. Now we're going to add a little bit of our egg mixture. All right, now starting from the inside, we're going to start working this in, and if it runs over, that's all right. Because what we're going to do now is we're just going to incorporate this. Well, there goes my volcano. Start picking up some of the rest. We're getting it there. Okay, now it's time to start kneading. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to develop the glutens that's in there. Now, for anyone that's gluten intolerant or has a gluten allergy, there are lots of flours out there. Rice flour, almond flour is another one that are gluten-free that you can use, and they actually taste very, very good when you use them in a pasta. So don't be afraid to do that, and of course don't be afraid to invite your gluten allergic friends over. Now press it with the ball of your hand and just work this around until you get this all kneaded together, and then we're going to knead it for probably about another 3 to 5 minutes, something like that, just to make sure that the glutens have a chance to develop. I won't make you stand around and wait for this whole thing, so I'll edit this part out. Okay, the pasta's been in the refrigerator for about an hour. I've taken it out. We need to allow it to temper. I mean, it's kind of come back up to room temperature a little ways. While we do that, what's the next logical thing we do? Well, what are we going to do with our pasta? I thought we might make raviolis. And one of the things I always kind of wanted to make is I thought maybe a crab meat ravioli would be good. So I want to try something here. And let's start out with just some crab meat. Now normally, make sure you pick over the crab, make sure the shells are out. This is a brand that I've rarely ever found a shell in, and since I'm not serving it to guests, I'm kind of going to cheat a little bit on there. But make sure you always pick them over for shells. All right. Now that we have our crab meat in, I want to take and use a little ricotta. All right. And we're going to have to blend this in very well. I want to add a little bit of kosher salt, not much, a little bit of garlic powder, again not much because we're not making a whole lot, and some pepper. Now, I want to add a little fontina cheese. Now, fontina cheese goes back to the 13th century. The earliest recording of it is back in the year 1270 in northern Italy, up in the Alps. So, let's go ahead and put a little of that in. Now, fontina cheese is a very creamy and mild tasting cheese. Now the longer it ages, and really it ages between 60 to 90 days, in the caves before it's ready for distribution. Now they do age it longer, and of course the more they age it, the more pungent or the more tart it becomes. So alright, now I just want to put in a little chopped parsley, and really that doesn't add much to the flavor, but when you do bite into it, it does look nice. I think I'm going to need to add a little bit more ricotta. Alright, now, since I haven't made this before, I'm going to test it. I'm going to add a little more salt. A little more garlic powder, a little bit more pepper. Now we don't want our ravioli stuffing to be overbearing, because what we want to do is, I think I'll make an Alfredo sauce to go over this when we have the ravioli cooked, and that will have a lot of flavor in itself. So we don't want this to be competing with that. We want it to complement it. Much better. Much better. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let this sit for a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and set up my pasta machine so we can roll out some pasta. Then we'll make the Alfredo, and then we'll put it all back together. Now while the ravioli filling is in the refrigerator, and I put it in there, and we'll leave it in there for a while. We kind of want the flavors to melt together a little bit. And while we're doing that, let's go ahead and let's roll our pasta. The dough has been tempering here. So right now I want to take and cut it into about fourths. Oh, that looks just about right. All right, now let's take the other three that we won't be using right away, and let's put them back in here so they don't dry out. And now let's take our one, and we're going to flatten it out a little bit. Now in these pasta makers, we have 3 rollers in here. We have our flat roller here, which just rolls it out. We have a very fine cutting roller over on the far side, and we have a much wider roller set here in the middle. This is for fettuccine, linguine. This is probably more for spaghetti type. So the first thing we want to do is we want to take and adjust this to the widest distance between here. And you notice now we can start feeding this out. I'm going to just run it through the same width again. Alright, now I'm going to turn it down one. See how we're going to roll our pasta dough out? I may take and put a little flour on my machine here. In fact, I think I will. I'm going to roll this because I'm not happy the way the edges are going. Much better. All right, now this is rolled out about where we want it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and cut it. There are two ways to make pasta. One of them's with a little ravioli. One's with a little ravioli maker like this. So I'm going to cut it right there. You see, we'll just put that on here. And then we'll put another piece on top of that. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and press those two together after we put our filling in. And here, I'm just going to take and I'm going to fold it over. I'm going to put a little dough in here. I'm going to fold it over, and I'm going to use one of these little ravioli presses, and we're going to make it that way. Oops, wrong one. That's a much better size. But even then, I'm not going to use the whole. I'm not going to use the whole thing. In fact, I think I'm just going to use a spoon. Before I do this, the one thing I do want to do I want to take a pastry brush and I want to spread a little water on this. And the reason I want to spread a little water on here is because that way they'll stick together when I put the top over the bottom. Right now, I know it's a little hard to see. Because I need to fold this over the top, like this. All right, now, very carefully, go ahead and press this down. Such. We'll take our ravioli press. And press these. Such. Pull this off. And now we can take and make sure you squeeze all of these to make sure that you don't have any leaks. All right. There. That's one way. Now let's go ahead, let's use the ravioli maker here. And this is just more of a template than anything else. The same applies. We'll just put a little water on the bottom here. And then we'll put some on the top. Alright. Now let's do the same thing again. Now, one thing that is going to be tempting to do is push this all the way down in the hole. You don't want to do that, because what you'll do is it'll break right along that line. So we're going to just take and we're going to put a little ball in there, kind of like this. The other half on. Now, just like we did before, we're going to take our fingers and we're going to kind of push these down together. Okay, now that we have those down, the other half here just goes on the top of it, and it works the same way as your little individual ravioli press does. You simply press down on this, and when you remove it, you can see the outline right there of your ravioli. Now we take our ravioli cutter and I'm just running it right over where the template cut it. Such. Now we do these just the same way as we did the others. And besides, to me, there's just something about when, you know, something's homemade, you made something from scratch. Okay, we've made the filling for the ravioli. We've gone ahead and run the pasta. We've assembled the ravioli, And now let's go ahead and let's make an Alfredo sauce for it. Then we'll go ahead and cook it, we'll plate it, and we'll put it all together. So, let me go to the stove here. And first let's start out with a couple of cups of heavy cream. Alfredo is a very creamy dish, so we're going to start out actually with quite a bit of cream. Now we do want to watch this a little bit. It is going to take a little while, but we do want to pay attention to it because it's not hard to burn it. We also have to add a half a cup of butter, which basically, is a stick. A little salt. Pepper. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and I have a half a cup of shredded mozzarella. And a half a cup of shredded Parmesan. I'm also going to add a little bit of flour. I'm not going to add it too much at a time because I don't want it to clump. And if you do worry about it clumping, take and mix it in with water first into a paste and then put it in. I'm going to put a little chopped parsley in there for a little color. Yeah, much better. Getting thicker. Now, one thing we have to do, and remember, I've always told you to do this. Taste it. That's good. It doesn't need any more salt or pepper. It's got a good garlicky taste. It has a good cheese taste in there. It's a very mellow, mild, but flavorful sauce. And I don't want to over season something, because if you over salt something, with so many people on restricted salt diets, remember, you're supposed to always think of your guests. So I tend to under salt a little bit and figure if they really need a little more salt, or they choose some, there's always some on the table. Turn the fire off on the Alfredo sauce. And I'm going to use this big high output burner to heat the pasta water. Heat it a little quicker. I put a little olive oil in with the pasta water, and the reason is that helps keep the pasta from sticking together. Okay, our water's boiling. So now let's put in our pasta. Now remember, unlike hard pasta or your dry pasta, this is going to take a lot less time to cook. Alright, it's boiling, starting to boil again. Let's set it for 3 minutes and we'll see how they are. Normally you'd put this on for 10 to 11 minutes. With dry pasta, only takes 2 or 3, with fresh. So make sure you don't, boil it into mush. Okay, there's the timer. They look like they're done. Let's go ahead and pull them out. Alright, here we are back again. The ravioli is cooked. The Alfredo sauce is prepared. Now we'll go ahead and we'll ladle it over the top. Like this. See how that sauce thickened up nicely? We'll sprinkle a little fresh chopped basil on it. A little Parmesan Reggiano. And voila. There was a lot of steps to it. It took a while to make it, but I'll tell you what, the result is certainly worth it. Try it sometime. That doesn't mean you have to make your pasta all the time. I don't. but it sure is nice to make it every once in a while. So this takes care of our ravioli and pasta. Take care, God bless, thank you for watching, and remember my cardinal rule, cooking should be fun. See you next time.